right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. The finals for the 2021 Chicago Pro just wrapped up. Keone Pearson, back-to-back Chicago Pro champion. Keep in mind, the impressive part about this is Keone has only done 2 pro shows as a 212 bodybuilder and won both of them. Qualified for the Olympia both years, both shows as a 212 competitor. Keep in mind he's switching over from Classic Physique. So shout out to Keone for that. I mean, that's pretty impressive in and of itself, being so new to the game. And I think at the end of the day, the story of this show is the shape and structure of Keone's physique was so good, and this is what I've been saying for so long, that structure and that shape and the flow that he has carried him to the win tonight. Was Keone the most conditioned guy on stage? No, not necessarily. Was Keone off? I wouldn't say he was off. I would say he's pretty on par for how he's looked in the past. But there were more conditioned bodybuilders in this lineup. And I guess on one hand, you could look at this in a sense of saying, the judges made a statement tonight and said, look, this is how important structure is to us. This is how important a beautiful aesthetic physique really is to us by giving Keone the victory. That's why I think Keone won here. Like I said, John Jewett, he wound up in 4th place, actually, which I was very surprised about. I thought for sure he was going to be a top 3 contender. He was the most conditioned bodybuilder on stage, in my opinion. John Jewett ended up in 4th. And like I said this at the prejudging wrap-up, I think a lot of the reason why John hasn't been winning shows, and probably, it's going to come down to his structure. His structure versus Keone's structure. At the end of the day, Keone wins. Now, in 2nd place, you had Ahmad El Sadani, and I got to say, he improved so much between prejudging and the night show. He definitely deserved to make it all the way up into that top 2 spot. I think he looked incredible. They did a call-out with him, Keone, and the guy who took 3rd, who was a guy by the name of Kareth Bajo. I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. And like I said, John Jewett was in 4th. Oswald Gonzalez wound up in that 5th place spot. And then in 6th place, you had Jason Herbert. So overall, really exciting 212 show. Typically, you don't have this kind of excitement going into a 212 competition, especially one that's not the Olympia. But I think Keone brought that excitement. People wanted to see if he can two-peat. They wanted to see how he was going to look this time around. They wanted to see if he could get to the Olympia again this year in 212. And Keone has done that. Not only did he win this show, but he's going to the Olympia. And he said that even though he skipped it last year after he qualified, he's not skipping it this year. He is going to the Olympia. And I've said it before, I love Keone's structure. I think he's got probably the most aesthetic physique, the best flow in the 212 division today. He's one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time, honestly. His genetics and just the way his physique flows is incredible. But I got to say, I think he is going to win the 212 Olympia someday. But if he wants to win the Olympia, and I know he does, he's got to tighten up the conditioning. He's not going to win the Olympia with this conditioning. It was good enough to pull off the win in Chicago. But look, I got to be brutally honest. Even though I'm a giant fan of Keone, like I said, he's got to come in tighter at the Olympia. He's got to have better conditioning than this at the Olympia if he wants to win a show like that. So we've seen him, so far we've seen him twice. We've seen him compete twice in 212, and he won both shows, and it's very impressive. But once you see him in a lineup of some of these Olympia-level conditioned guys, like Sean Clarito was nuts at the Olympia last year, he's going to need to tighten up. That structure he's got, fantastic. But he's going to have to be tighter at the Olympia to win that show. That's just my advice to Keone. That's just my 2 cents. Even though I'm a huge fan, I think he needs to tighten up for the O significantly. All right, now next up in the news, guys, let's talk about Phil Heath. So Phil Heath, I got to be honest, he looks really good. This is something that's not really typical from Phil, seeing physique updates like this leading up to the Olympia, the Arnold Classic. Again, we don't know what show he's doing, if he's ever going to do another show again. But typically, historically, Phil is a guy that really likes to keep it under wraps. But he posted this physique update with the caption, "Enjoying the ride, wishing everyone a great day." And the thing that really impressed me about this is how lean Phil is looking for a guy that supposedly is not competing, for a guy that's supposedly not prepping for a show. Look at the striations in his shoulders. Look at how vascular he is. Phil should be in the offseason. If he's not doing the Olympia, which he hasn't confirmed or denied yet, if he's not doing the Olympia, this would be a pretty deep offseason phase for him. So the question at this point really is, why is Phil in such good shape? Is he getting ready for simply a photo shoot? Is he prepping for a show? There's been rumors going around that he might do the Tampa Pro, just based on some tweets that he put out, saying he was X amount of weeks out from a show, and that kind of lined up with Tampa. He's looking, I mean, if you look at some of the guys, to be completely honest, if you look at some of the guys that have posted physique updates that are doing Tampa, at least in this picture, and granted, you can't see the rest of Phil's body, Phil almost looks about the same shape as a lot of those guys. Now, in my opinion, it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense for Phil to do a show like the Tampa Pro. He's already qualified for the Olympia. The Tampa Pro, basically, at this point, is a show for people that have not yet qualified. It wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense for Phil to jump in a show like that. So, as far as that rumor goes, I just don't think he would do it. Now, do I think Phil might compete one more time? I certainly do. Do I think Phil is done competing? I actually don't. Now, would Phil do the Olympia and get this close to the Olympia without announcing that he's doing it? I just really don't think so. I would think at this point, if you're in the Olympia, you're qualified, you're doing the show, if you were doing it, you would have made it known by now, because you would want the publicity, you would want the hype going into the show, you would want your fans to know that you're doing the biggest show of the year. At this point, we're pretty close now. But could I see Phil jumping in any other show? The only other show I would see Phil potentially doing would be the Arnold Classic. Now, granted, we don't know that they've reached out to him. We don't know that they've invited him, and he obviously has not said he's doing it. But if I were to speculate, if he were to do any show besides the Olympia, I would think it would be the Arnold. I know everyone's speculating he might do this show, he might do that show, he might do Tampa. My guess would be the Arnold. But hey, I have no idea. That's the fun part of speculating. I mean, we really don't know. Do I think Phil is retired? I don't think he is. I think if he were going to be done competing, he would have announced it and kind of given a retirement speech. And I think Phil looks like he's in such good shape. He's really lean. He looks really lean, at least. I think he might do another show and kind of catch us by surprise. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Will we see Phil compete again? Now, speaking of the Tampa Pro, we've got a physique update from Charles Griffin, his fasted morning check-ins at this point in his prep for Tampa. I think Charles looks really impressive. He's one of my guys. I think he's kind of the dark horse that I think is going to surprise a lot of people at the Tampa show. I think anybody sleeping on Charles at this point is making a gigantic mistake, because I think this guy is dangerous. I think he can get it done. And I think he's certainly a first call-out guy at a show like Tampa. He's a guy that I think can catch a lot of people slipping if he comes in conditioned enough. And the final story that I have for you guys today, the latest physique update that I've seen, at least, of Roelly Winklaar with Roelly Chapados, who was the girlfriend of Sean Rowan. I don't know if they're still together or not. It doesn't really look like they are, but that's how I know who she is. Roelly Chapados, IFBB Pro, was posing with Roelly right before the Chicago Pro. Now, this is the most recent update that I have seen where you can see any of Roelly's physique. And honestly, I think odds are pretty good that Roelly's going to come in and win this show tomorrow. Who is going to give Roelly the most trouble, though? Let me know in the comment section down below. Will it be Hunter Labrada, or will it be somebody else? But in my opinion, it would be hard to say Roelly's not going to win. Let me know in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. I'll keep you guys posted on all the Chicago Pro news tomorrow and the Tampa Pro news in a couple of weeks. So subscribe, thumbs up. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.